What is up, everyone? Darkside Phil here, and welcome to my Royal Rumble 2016 reactions video, where I'm going to run through the major matches on the card, let you know exactly how they went down, and give you my opinions on the subject. Now, it's important to note as we get started that I am a huge fan of pro wrestling. I always have been, and even though kind of fell out of love with it for a little bit after I moved across the country in mid-2014, at this point I'm caught up. I watch Monday Night Raw every week, and what I'll be doing from time to time when I actually watch a notable pay-per-view or if something notable goes on in pro wrestling, I will be covering it in this reaction-style vlog video, so you can look forward to that in the future. So let's get started with the match card. First of all, you had the pre-show match, which I never understand because when you watch it on demand afterwards on the WWE Network, they never include the pre-show match in the pay-per-view, so I didn't get to see it. This was a fatal four-way match between Darren Young and Damien Sandow versus the Dudley Boys versus the Ascension versus Mark Henry and Jack Swagger. It's almost like they have that random tag team generator in effect, making some really weird tag teams there. Darren Young and Damien Sandow, like why the hell did they get tagged? And Mark Henry and Jack Swagger, again, it's kind of like why are they even tagged or teamed up? I have absolutely no idea. The stakes here to get into the Royal Rumble. There were 2 spots left supposedly in the Royal Rumble, and so the winners of this match would actually get into the Rumble. Looking at the listing, you would think, oh, there's a shoo-in. It's definitely going to be the Dudley Boys. Unfortunately, things didn't turn out like that. So the outcome of this match was surprising. You actually had a real twist here with Jack Swagger and Mark Henry, of all people, going over and winning their qualifying spots in the Royal Rumble. And you're thinking, well, if they're going to go over the Dudley Boys, then definitely it's going to come to some kind of maybe fruition later tonight. It's rumored that Mark Henry's going to retire soon. Maybe he'll make some kind of a splash in the Rumble. But you'll see in just a moment when I talk about that match. Alright, so the opening match of the pay-per-view was Dean Ambrose against Kevin Owens in what I felt was a match that brought the house down, a last man standing match for the Intercontinental title. Now, the rules of the match, you have to beat your opponent senseless to the point where they cannot get on their feet during a count of 10. And so this could lead, obviously, to lots of different spots where guys are hitting multiple finishers. They went through tables. They were, at one point, Owens does his rolling senton bomb and knocks Dean Ambrose through the barricade for a cool spot. And this match, even though some people call it a spot fest, was also pretty grueling, pretty intense. Everyone going back and forth, reversing, hitting their finishers. They gave it a lot of time on the pay-per-view, and this was a really awesome way, in my opinion, to start the event. So the outcome was actually hinted at earlier in the match when Kevin Owens stacked 2 tables on top of each other outside of the ring, and then it was almost forgotten for about 10 minutes. Owens is going up onto the top turnbuckle in order to hit a big finishing senton on Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose happens to recover, pushes Owens off. He goes through the 2 tables, cannot raise for the 10 count. Great match, in my opinion, probably a 4.5 out of 5-star match. I was really impressed with the way that these 2 guys worked. Ambrose retains his title. All is well with the world, right? But it lends itself to the question, when you open a pay-per-view with a match of that caliber, does it mean that the rest of the pay-per-view is going to be deflating? This actually happened a couple pay-per-views in a row where the opening match was the best one on the entire pay-per-view. Could the Royal Rumble live up to that expectation, or was it going to flop on its face and make it all downhill from here? Well, the good news is, it kind of did live up to that expectation of the earlier match, especially with the next match for the Tag Team Championships, The New Day against the Usos. The match opens up with The New Day coming out to reveal they have a replacement trombone. That's right, even though Chris Jericho destroyed Francesca a couple weeks ago, they have a new one called Francesca II, or Francesca II, which Xavier Woods does not hesitate to start playing during the match, which is pretty cool. So the match pretty much was typical fare for New Day and the Usos. Not to say that it was boring by any means, but it's exactly what you're going to expect from these guys. High-octane offense, heavy-hitting moves, high-flying reversals, a lot of pin breakups with the New Day kind of going in and out of the ring. Of course, Xavier Woods getting interfering and, basically cheating for them, playing the trombone during the match. It was everything you would expect, but the finish in particular I thought was pretty sweet. So Kofi Kingston is going up onto the top turnbuckle. All of a sudden, one of the Usos strikes him, so starts to reverse, and it looks like there's going to be this big move that's going to happen. You're not exactly sure what. Well, all of a sudden, Big E comes in, slaps the blind tag on Kofi, and the Usos don't know that Kofi has actually been tagged out. So one of the Usos knocks Kofi off the top turnbuckle, knocks him to the center of the ring, and is going up to do his giant finisher. All of a sudden, Big E hits the ring, catches him during the finisher, boom, lands the big ending, 1, 2, 3, retains the titles. A cool way to end the match, fast-paced match, excellent. Again, I'd probably say this is another 4-star match. It's that good, and at this point, I'm feeling really good. Like, man, 2 great back-to-back matches. This pay-per-view can only get better at this point because it's been so good. So then we move on to the United States title match. Alberto Del Rio, the champion, defending against Kalisto. Now, these guys have gone back and forth over the past few weeks, trading the title, with Kalisto getting an upset win on Alberto over on Raw, and then on a following SmackDown, Alberto getting his rematch and winning the title back from Kalisto. And so because of this, it's kind of up in the air as what's going to happen. Will there be another title switch tonight? Who knows? And there was a lot of excitement in the air regarding that. The match was pretty good, lots of action, lots of spots, with Alberto hitting his normal standard fare. At one point, he actually hit the kick to the face that defeated John Cena for the U.S. title originally, but Kalisto kicks out, and I think at that point everyone was like, whoa, like that's kind of weird because that's supposedly like a finisher, even though technically it's not Alberto's finisher. But it was cool to see that they're actually really giving Kalisto a push and showing that he's supposed to be a formidable opponent. He's not going to just lose to a move here or there. He really have to have a really long drawn out match in order to beat him. And that was really cool because let's face it, we haven't had a smaller luchador-style Mexican who's really gotten a push in the WWE in quite some time since Rey Mysterio, and it's cool to see Kalisto get that attention. So, ultimately, they go back and forth, hitting different moves, different finishers. The finish happens when Kalisto gets the drop on Alberto Del Rio. I believe he reverses a move, stuns him, and then hits him with the Serena del Sol for the victory. So, yes, Kalisto wins the title back from Del Rio, and this is cool because I think what they could do is actually have these guys go back and forth with this title, juggling it back and forth all the way until WrestleMania in early April, and that would be a cool program in my opinion. I just hope that they don't pigeonhole Kalisto into only wrestling Del Rio, because I think he could do a great job against many, many other wrestlers. Again, he could have that David and Goliath style match where he's the little man, but he's the underdog, and he always finds a way to win, and he's a really good worker. I think that he really should get a lot more attention, so hopefully things go well for him, and thumbs up to the match. Another great, probably 4 out of 5 star match that I really enjoy. Now, on to the Divas Championship match. Now, this one, in my opinion, had some highs and lows. Out of all the matches on the pay-per-view so far, this definitely was the worst, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad match. In fact, Becky and Charlotte have had matches in the past month to 2 months several times on Monday Night Raw and or other shows that really didn't live up to the expectation of these two NXT divas. This one actually did. I would say, between the two of them, hitting spots, hitting multiple finishers, kicking out of each other's moves and such, really a great sequence of stuff, and it was a lot of fun. The only real annoyances that I had with this match was the Ric Flair interference. Now, we all know that Charlotte now has basically become the archetype of her father. She does the dastardly dirty deeds or whatever in order to win matches, and Ric interferes and is the distraction. Okay, I get it. But when you're having a big, high-profile title match like this, and especially when you have someone like Becky who's an up-and-comer, you want to kind of give them their due and just let them have a match. Unfortunately, that didn't happen here. At one point, Rick actually throws his sport jacket over Becky's head during the match, which in any real match should have, per the rules, been a DQ, yet the ref doesn't call it, maybe because he wants Becky to have her shot to win the match, and it distracts Becky to the point where Charlotte gets a cheap shot. Luckily, Becky does get out of that situation. But the one thing they do with this match that I still can't believe they did, and a lot of people are actually up in arms on social media about it, Ric Flair kisses Becky Lynch against her will. It distracts the hell out of her. It ends up, letting her, Charlotte get lots of offense in on her. And I can understand why people are grossed out. I mean, Ric Flair is a very old man. Not to say that that's a bad thing, but someone of his age kissing Becky like that and forcing himself upon her, especially in this modern PC day and age. This isn't the 1970s and 80s anymore where everything is very sexist in wrestling. No, now if a woman gets a kiss forced upon her against her will, it's a big deal. People get up in arms about it, and to see this pulled off during the match was kind of like, what were they thinking? Like, talk about being an out-of-touch writer who thought, I know a good idea. Let's have the old-ass Ric Flair kiss a girl against her will, and it makes her get distracted during the match. I mean, it's so stupidly out of touch, and I can't believe it was even greenlit for the match. So ultimately, it looks like Becky is going to end up winning this match. Unfortunately, because of so many different distractions by Ric Flair, Charlotte eventually gets the one-up on her, hits her with a second spear, which I guess is her alternate finisher. I thought she was going to try to hit the figure 8. Instead, she does multiple spears in this match, ends up retaining the title. And I hate to say it, but I think that's it for Becky. Because immediately following, guess what happens? Sasha Banks comes out, her music hits, she comes out to the ring, she kicks Becky out of the ring, almost like symbolically saying, well, your push is over, kicks the shit out of her, throws her out of the ring. She actually teases rejoining and realigning with Charlotte as they were actually teammates in NXT. They even do their pose or whatever it is that they did in NXT. Then immediately turns on her, beats the living crap out of Charlotte, puts Charlotte into the Banks statement, and the crowd goes absolutely wild because let's face it, people love Sasha Banks. She was one of the top divas in NXT, and I shouldn't say divas, I should say female wrestlers. She was in the top female wrestlers in NXT for a long time. She was the NXT Women's Champion, and people want to see her get a push, but it seems like ever since she hit regular WWE TV, they really didn't give her that opportunity. Now it looks like they're finally going to do it. They're tired of the stupid team-up bullshit that they've been doing with the Divas Revolution, 3-on-3 teams. Hopefully, finally, we're going to see some great singles matches out of her, and I say double thumbs up to that. Sasha versus Charlotte as a rivalry sounds good to me. Okay, now on to the actual Royal Rumble match, and certainly I'm not going to cover the entire thing because I could talk about it for about 4 hours with all the stuff that happened in it, but I'll tell you some of the surprising things. First of all, Roman Reigns entrant number 1, not a surprise. No one suspected that he wasn't going to be in the Rumble, duh. He's defending his title. Keep in mind, this year the Royal Rumble is actually for the WWE title, which means if Roman Reigns doesn't win it, he loses the title and is no longer the champion. The big surprise of the Rumble by far, entrant number 3, AJ Styles. That's right, the phenomenal one, the guy who worldwide is known as a great wrestler but has never really been on WWE TV besides a stint as like a jobber or a dark match here or there. He was just signed by WWE a couple weeks back, left New Japan Pro Wrestling to come to the WWE, and it was heavily rumored that they would start using him right away because of all the people that on the card are injured, such as John Cena, Randy Orton. They're looking for new top talent, and they recruited him specifically for this reason. Awesome to see him at number 3, and quite honestly, he was one of the MVPs of the Rumble. He was in there for about 30 some minutes. He was eliminated, I believe, 2 different people. Yes, he eliminated Tyler Breeze, who again has become a huge jobber after debuting on WWE TV. He's flopped. His character is terrible. I could go on for a while about that, how I thought his character was terrible to begin with. It doesn't work in the modern era. But he gets eliminated by AJ Styles, and so does Curtis Axel, who of course is using his gimmick of, oh, I was never eliminated last year, and then promptly gets eliminated by AJ Styles in just a few minutes. So AJ actually doing pretty good in his first Royal Rumble ever, eliminating a couple people and lasting quite a long time. Alright, so about middle of the match of the Royal Rumble, when we had about maybe 15 people in the ring, a few key things start happening. First off, Kofi Kingston gets thrown over the top rope. He gets knocked off the apron as if he's going to be eliminated, but he lands on Big E's shoulders, and Big E proceeds to walk around the ring with Kofi Kingston. Kofi's taking food and drinks from the crowd in celebration that he's still in the Rumble, and he's eating and drinking and stuff. And it was funny, yeah, but it was weird because they showed it for like a second as it was a big deal, because, you know, Kofi always does this crazy spot at the Rumble, like handstands or running on the railings and stuff like that. This year, this is his big stunt. It's okay, but the whole thing is ruined. Why is it ruined? Because at the very same time this is taking place, Roman Reigns gets taken out of the Royal Rumble. He's not eliminated. He's pulled through the ropes, so he's not eliminated yet. And he gets completely decimated by the League of Nations. They come out per Vince's order, by the way. Vince is directing traffic, telling them to destroy Roman Reigns. They beat the shit out of him. They're hitting multiple finishers, bro kicks. They put him on the new French announce table, which I forgot to mention that there's French announcers now on pay-per-views, I guess. And Rusev does a giant flying splash, breaking the table, taking out Roman. And all the announcers can say is, oh my God, he's broken in half. There's no way he could perform in the Rumble anymore. And immediately I start to say, this seems to be very familiar, and that's not a good thing. So if you don't know what I'm referencing when I say this is familiar, a lot of people have been comparing Roman Reigns' recent run in the WWE to the career of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Roman Reigns, they tried to push him as John Cena. They tried to make him the hero of the people, Mr. Good Guy. People didn't buy it. For a year, they just kept booing him. So finally, when they turned him into Mr. Anti-Establishment, the anti-hero who's going to punch, Vince, and he's going to punch Triple H, he's going to fight back against the authority at all times. Then all of a sudden, he almost became like a Stone Cold Steve Austin character, and people started to embrace him and cheer him as the new champion. So I think some writer at WWE has the impression that since people are cheering him because he's an Austin character, just do every fucking Austin plotline possible and copy it. And it's so pathetic because it just shows such a huge, vacuous lack of originality for those of us who've been around the block, who've watched pro wrestling for a while. To redo fucking plot lines literally frame for frame at this point is an insult to the viewer. I don't want to watch a pay-per-view if you're going to be redoing the plot line from fucking 16, 17 years ago, and that's exactly what they did with this Roman Reigns situation. Roman, oh no, they're carting him away. Of course, everyone who knows that Roman's career really is just being copied from Stone Cold knows he's going to be back, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. So the Wyatts are eliminating everyone. Then Mark Henry comes out, and you're like, wow, Mark Henry's going to definitely do something here because he won a qualifying match earlier tonight to be in the Rumble. He immediately gets eliminated by the Wyatts, and you're like, then why did they bother with the pre-show match? So then Jack Swagger comes out and the same fucking thing happens. And you're like, why did they bother with the pre-show match? It was a complete waste of everyone's time because they just jobbed them out in like 5 seconds anyway. That was really stupid in my opinion. The ring is filling up with these final level of superstars. We don't know who the final entrant in the Rumble is going to be yet. But as Sheamus is coming down to the ring, all of a sudden, Roman Reigns out of nowhere, what a surprise, what a twist, right? Comes out and attacks Sheamus from behind, just destroys him, does a flying Superman punch, hits the ring, immediately starts eliminating everyone. So he eliminates The Miz, who had snuck in during this time, eliminates The Miz like nothing. He eliminates Alberto Del Rio almost like nothing. So he's going nuts. Then Sheamus hits the ring. Guess what? He eliminates Sheamus. So now you're like, holy shit, he's just going wild on everyone. This is pretty crazy. You know, what's going to happen? No one really knows. By the way, I forgot to mention that Dean Ambrose was also in the mix, and he's in the ring as well. So right now, you've basically got some top contenders between Roman Reigns, Dean, and whoever this last mysterious entrant could possibly be in the Royal Rumble. Also, Chris Jericho is in there. So the reason that I'm talking about this parallel with Steve Austin is very simple. In '99, Steve Austin did exactly the same thing. He came back at the last minute. He eliminated everyone in the Rumble. But guess what happened? At the last second, by surprise, Vince McMahon slips in the ring as an entrant in the Rumble and eliminates Austin. He won the Rumble that year. So immediately you're thinking, who is it that Roman Reigns right now has a bitter rivalry with, who maybe, you know, might slip into this Rumble to eliminate him? You know, it's so cliche, it's so predictable, and everyone fucking saw it coming a mile away, which is why I hated the fucking ending of the Royal Rumble. Let's get to it. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's Triple H is the 30th entrant. Ever since Triple H got Superman punched and destroyed by Roman Reigns a couple months ago, he hasn't been seen on television despite being on everything of NXT, so everyone knows that he's fine. But I digress. He hasn't been on mainstream Raw or SmackDown, so people don't know where he's been. He returns as the 30th entrant to the Rumble. So now you've got a pickle. You got Triple H and Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, Chris Jericho, and I believe there was like one more heel in. Oh, Sheamus was still in it at this point. And so you're like, okay, so there's like 5 guys in there. They're all going to go at it. Sheamus eventually gets eliminated by Roman Reigns. So now it's almost like a triple threat atmosphere where it's going to be Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, and Triple H. And everyone's thinking it's going to come down to Triple H and Roman Reigns. Luckily, they didn't go the ultra cliche route. Roman actually gets eliminated by Triple H at one point, and you're like, holy shit. So now it's down to Dean and Triple H, and we're all thinking, gee, will they do the right thing? Will they actually put the belt on Dean, who's been really hard-working for several years, has really put on some of the best matches the WWE's put on for several years, and we want to see him get the push that he deserves? What do you think? Triple H goes over Dean Ambrose with the cheesiest spots. The spot they do every time is that Dean is stupidly running towards Triple H for no reason. Triple H goes, whoops, watch this, and flips him over the ropes and wins. It's so dumb. It's so not even believable that this would happen in the real Royal Rumble match. But the thing that actually pissed me off at this point is that Triple H was the 30th entrant in the Rumble. At this point in the match, he'd been in there for like maybe 4.5 minutes. He was completely gassed. He was tired as hell. At one point, he went to do his famous knee lift move to Dean Ambrose, and it looked so pathetic because it was so light and ginger because he had no energy. He couldn't even raise his knee because he was so tired. It's a joke. And now let's have Triple H win the Rumble and become the WWE champion. Even though he doesn't need to be a main event. He doesn't need a push. He absolutely doesn't need any of this shit. And let's face it, at this point, ladies and gentlemen, Triple H does not fucking need to be in the main event of WrestleMania. He could be in a match, that's fine, but he is management at this point. Yes, it's nice to see him wrestle once in a while, but it's not what I want to go to fucking WrestleMania and see in the main event. I don't want to see these fucking guys who are over the hill, who don't need to even be on fucking television anymore, hogging the fucking spotlight. And that's exactly what this is. Well, we couldn't get Roman over as John Cena. We tried to get him over as Stone Cold. It's kind of working, but now we have no main event picture for WrestleMania because everyone's hurt. So let's quickly on the fly try to copy what we did in 1999, and it's going to be the same shit. Roman for 3 months now feuding with the McMahons, feuding with Triple H, and then finally they'll get their big-ass, high-profile rematch at WrestleMania. Roman will beat Triple H and go over, become the WWE Champion, in a main event no one wants to fucking see. I'm sorry. I don't care about Triple H versus Roman Reigns. I'm far more excited about the new superstars, AJ Styles, or how about Austin Aries, who was just signed, or how about any of the other people from Bullet Club who were just signed from New Japan Pro Wrestling, or maybe Sami Zayn, who just returned. That's what I want to see. That's what I'm going to be tuning into Raw every week to see. The new blood, not the old fucking geezers who have to hog the fucking spotlight at all times. If WWE Creative had any kind of an original bone in their fucking body, they would actually do something fun and different rather than something so fucking cliche. Oh, well, it worked in 1999. It's only 17 years later. It'll work again. Fuck you. Fuck you for insulting my intelligence and everyone's intelligence who's a longtime wrestling fan and knows you've done this before. That's really what it is. Like, WWE doesn't have any long-term plan. What they think of is, well, you know, we're just going to do something quickly, and we have fans who have only been around for a few years, so they're not going to remember stuff from the past. Bullshit. The biggest wrestling fans are always going to remember the past, and they're going to bring that shit up. It's the same exact fucking plot line. There's no reason for Triple H to be the champion. This is a joke, and really, quite honestly, it ruined the Royal Rumble, because when you have a horrendous ending leading to now 3 months of horrendous fucking storylines that are going to be shoved down our throats ad nauseum, you're like, motherfucker, I have to suffer through that shit just to see the new guys, and it's going to be a major pain in the ass. Alright, so that was my take on the Royal Rumble. What did you think? Please leave your comments on the video. Let me know if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Let's get some fun discussion going. And as always, thank you for watching this, my reactions video to the Royal Rumble 2016. Peace out, everyone, and I'll see you for more reactions in the future, in particular to pro wrestling, when I feel there's something coming up that's worth talking about. See you then.